Welcome back to the Action Alerts Options Weekly Roundup. And Mike, the name of the game next week is economic data and the all-important non-farm payrolls report on Friday. Traders all week are going to be jockeying into that, the ADP Employment Report, and of course, jobless claims. There's a lot of expectations out there in addition to the slew of manufacturing data that we have to work through. Oh, and motor vehicle sales and same-store sales on Thursday. It's all consumer, all jobs, all manufacturing, all day next week.
Yeah, I think all of those are really critical data points, and we actually know from what the Fed's been saying that they're going to be data-driven, so they're looking at these things too, and that's why investors need to pay attention to them. I think motor vehicle sales, obviously, that's going to be very interesting because it's going to give a very good sense of where the consumer stands in terms of their sentiment right now. So I think that's obviously going to be very important, and manufacturing data always important thing to look at.
I just wonder how much same-store sales is really going to impact the retail sector, because retail earnings were really not that great this quarter, whether it was due to the weather or the West Coast port shutdowns. I mean, you certainly had your haves and your have-nots. Target outperformed, TJ, Costco, those all outperformed, but the specialty retailers like in Abercrombie, like a PacSun, where they were directly impacted. So I'm wondering if same-store sales is really going to make a difference since that news is out there.
I think it is important. I think the reason you want to take a look at it is because it's an additional data point. So we had a lot of excuses for why things weren't working. In Abercrombie's case, by the way, I mean, I really think that they are probably going to need to look at a little bit of a strategy pivot. So that is really, I think, a story that's unique to them. But this is an additional data point. Now we get to find out, was weather really the primary driving factor, and where does the consumer really stand? So from my perspective, I think this is really going to help, tell us whether everything we heard before was true. So I think it's really important to look at it.
We don't have any volatility events for the most part in the portfolio next week, but I want to take a look at a couple stocks that are reporting that could really move the tape. The first one, Ambarella, and we saw what the semis did this week, and there's always that QUALCOMM for Ambarella speculation that's out there. Even some analysts think that Intel could find Ambarella attractive, and if we take a look at the chart, it certainly confirms what the speculation and fundamental thoughts are saying.
Well, look, Intel has demonstrated that they are interested in making acquisitions. The talks that they were having with Altera, then they fell apart, and then they started having conversations again. They are in the mood to make an acquisition, and we can see that actually in the options prices. So going into earnings, this is a name that probably moves about 5% on average going into earnings. Right now it's implying a move about 8.5%, and I think what's going on there is people are waiting to hear what's said on the earnings call. They're looking for cues to see whether this is a possibility. Could they potentially be an acquisition target, and maybe they'll get a hint from management.
Moving along to JM Smuckers, and I like to watch this one because we own WhiteWave in the portfolio, and that is in a space that's really hot right now. You don't think of consumer staples as the most sexy sector to look at, but I think there's really going to be some interesting M&A towards the end of 2015 and through 2016. SJM, they just bought that $6 billion pet company, and they're investing in the right areas, because in staples, if you're not growing organically, you have to grow via acquisition. And that's why I like to hear what a company like JM Smuckers is going to say relative to how attractive a company like WhiteWave might be.
Well, and they are not growing organically. I mean, if you take a look at how Smuckers has been doing over the course of the last couple of years, we've actually seen top-line revenue decline. So again, this is where you really want to hear what management has to say about what their strategy is going to be to fuel additional growth, because their businesses aren't growing on their own. The other thing I would say about Smuckers, which I think is kind of interesting, is that this is a stock that basically, on the same speculation that's fueling a lot of other names in the space, has rallied really very strongly within the course of the last 6 months. So, whether there's a real promise there, that's going to be wait and see, I think. I'm going to listen to what they have to say on that call and see whether there's something really promising. But for now, I wonder whether a large part of that move has already happened.
All right. Thanks very much, Mike.
Sure.
For The Street in New York, I'm Jill Malandrino.